quote John Cleese, and now for something completely different. Those of you of a certain age will recognize that quote from not Faulty Towers, but Monty Python's Flying Circus. Anyway, yeah, we've got another bike, another Ducati in the garage. I've had it for 2 days, and as you can see, it's been stripped quite a bit. So the story was, this was a bike that was an MPI auction bike. The seller bought it a few years ago, rode it for a bit, enjoyed it, and then put it back on the market for like a crazy low price. One of those prices that's so low you wonder, okay, so what's the problem? There's got to be something wrong with it. And certainly as a bike with a rebuilt title, some people might be scared off by it, but aside for some cosmetic damage, which you can see the side fairing is up there, it was in really great shape. That box there has the front fairing and tail section. So why am I selling bodywork? Well, you can imagine this is going to be a track bike. The Duke 890 was fantastic on the track, but to quote someone else, look at me, I'm like a literary genius here, quoting people. Randy Mamola, I think it was him that says, never race a bike you can't afford to crash. So whether or not I race this or it becomes a dedicated track bike remains to be seen. But anyway, the lap times I was putting on that, again, they weren't race winning pace by any means, but at the same time, I was certainly keeping something in reserve because the last thing I wanted to do was throw that bike up the road. And as I justified to my ever-suffering wife, Kate, a nasty crash on that would end up costing more than what I paid for this. So yeah, I've got myself a 2008 Ducati 848. So V-twin, which I like, a Ducati, which I'm familiar with. I had a 999 before, and then several air-cooled bikes. And yeah, it should be just perfect for what I want to use for it. So in terms of the build, I'm not going to go too overboard. I guess I've been now doing this long enough that hopefully I'll spend money in the right place, meaning suspension. I'm not going to bother with any engine work. It did come with Termignoni slip-ons, but why are they off? It's embarrassing for me to say, but I trust YouTube enough to share this story. I don't think I could do this again if I tried to do it 100 times. As I was taking off the undertail, I loosened this bolt here. The exhausts were off because it's the only way to get at all the mounting bolts. And as this was being withdrawn from the clip, it just caught a bit. My Allen bolt slipped out and the bolt fell down here and all the way down to the bottom there. You can even hear it rattle. And I could probably just leave it, but that would drive me crazy. So this part of the exhaust system is coming off, and even though I've redone the springs and taken off this mounting bolt, it's not coming off easy. So I think this was painted anyway. Well, I know it was painted anyway by a previous owner poorly. So it has been off once before. I'm going to take it off and probably sand it back to the stainless finish. But yeah, that was great. So I've done a lot of work to it to start with, and I'll keep updates coming as they go. I did remove the exhaust valve flapper, which means you need a dongle up there to trick it into staying open, which is how you want it. And that's been ordered as well as that thing right there, as well as a kickstand dongle from Woodcraft. I needed to bring out the heavy guns to loosen off this nut. It's just finger tight now, but the last person who changed tires on these things decided that, oh, I don't know, 250 foot-pounds was sufficient. I couldn't for the life of me crack it with a with the right socket and a long extension onto the socket wrench. My little electrical impact driver wouldn't turn it, so I borrowed the big guns and got both sides loosened off. What else? Oh, I've already set the belts. I'm going to get new belts, of course. I think these are original belts. You know, I'm not sure, but when I took off these side covers, it didn't look like anything had been taken off or adjusted before. So I've set it here to top dead center, made some marks here for putting on the new ones up there as well. And then I will drive myself insane with figuring out belt tension. And again, those of you in the know that the first version of the Gates Carbon Drive belt tension app was perfect for this. You'd flick it and it would have like a fairly regular, consistent reading telling you the belt tension in hertz between 100 and 110. And since then they updated it, and what they did when they updated it was make it absolutely useless for this task, and there hasn't been another app that I've seen that that is suitable or works. So I don't know, maybe some techie can teach me how to find an old version of an app, but that's really frustrating. So I know the Ducati techs set them by hand in the factory, and this frustrating thing is that based on this design, I think it's easier to get the right or a consistent strum than on air-cooled bikes. Anyway, it just sounds better. But yeah, I might borrow one of Kate's tuners. I guess A is 100 hertz. I don't know. Anyway, it's frustrating. And of course, the real Ducati tool, the Texa tool, is $500. There is a tool rental program that I might consider doing, because it's just, you know, I have nightmares of these belts not being set tension correctly and expensive engine damage. But the reality is, with a tooth belt like this, unless it's flopping or super tight, you're probably not going to have a failure. But anyway, they have some specs for a reason, and that's why they have it. So yeah, so that's set up to do that process. Going to do the usual, bleed the brakes, clean the calipers, new fluid. Forks look great, but I'm sure the fork oil is original as it was assembled in late 2007 or in 2008, so that's going to get switched out. Going to check spring rates. One of the guys at the track that races one of these, were about the same weight. He did some work on the forks. So we put heavier weight or heavier springs in the front and a lighter spring in the back. He also got an adjustable length tie rod to get some rear ride height, so I'll be taking care of that as well. 520 conversion. Luckily I have a bunch of Ducati front sprockets that I think will work, although this has a nut and a tab washer, not the I don't know what you'd call it, the Ducati air-cooled ones where they just turn that a half quarter and it keeps it on there. So yeah, I'll just cut this old chain right off. One of the error codes that comes up that doesn't have an issue with how the bike runs, doesn't go into limp mode or anything, but the speedometer isn't working. What that means is the odometer is off by around 1,000 kilometers, and of course the speedo doesn't work. And again, a track bike, you don't need the speedo, but I might just well, I'll look about fixing that thing too. Hopefully it's just a routing issue, but somewhere around here that cable goes in there and connects to the harness and the ECU. But yeah, spent a lot of time cleaning it up as well yesterday. A lot of WD-40, a lot of compressed air, and it was really dusty. The bike, last owner lived off a gravel road, maybe, I don't know, 3 kilometers on the gravel, and so what ended up happening, there was dust everywhere. So took a lot of that off. Front oil cooler was a real clogged up mess, so I spent a lot of time cleaning that out. Radiator looks good, no JB weld or patches or anything like that. And again, my new theory, because I have a lot of time to think about these things, is that there's a certain age of bikes where the parts get more affordable before they get rare, and I think that's where this thing is at now, because I got a new I think it's RG Anyway, it was a proper name brand, not a Chinese knockoff. Radiator guard, oil cooler guard together. Normally they're separate, for about $70 US. So you know, that's half price basically from what they sold new. And again, if you're on the track, you want to protect your rad and your oil cooler from stones being thrown up. So that was a nice score. What else? Thinking about, geez, that doesn't seem right. Thinking about doing a upgrade to the starter cables, because it does chug a bit before it turns over. I have made my own with my air-cooled bikes, and certainly my race bike projects where I've repositioned the battery. But I think I'll leave the battery there because it's low and centered, and lithium would be nice, but I think I'll leave this for now because it still works, and get some proper upgraded battery cables. See that? I don't like that. That worries me. Anyway, so I'll sort that out eventually. What else? Got the headlight. It's in perfect shape, so hopefully I'll sell that and make some money. Kind of nice. It came with an STM clutch slave, which I think certainly lightens things up. But these god-awful shorty levers, I'm not sure what kind they are, but you know, that doesn't help. It's still a firm feel at the lever. So I'll switch these out for OEM ones, or certainly full-length ones anyway. Yeah, so next steps, keep cleaning, keep taking things apart, because there's still, you know, you still find some dust on it. The air compressor has been working overtime. So yeah, next steps, I'll take out the air filter, take a look at that. It's probably an OEM one. Oh yeah, pulled the spark plugs. They were in decent shape, but ordered some new ones just because. Again, odd fitment, can't get them at Canadian Tire, but luckily I was able to find them in Canada online. Oh, stripped bolt. These flipping things. Just to take it off to turn the engine over. This I think these things are made of chocolate. So luckily I was able to get it off by tapping in a Torx socket. I'm not sure what size, T something, and luckily got the thing to turn. So that's just in there temporarily. I'm definitely going to replace that with something proper. Clean up the wiring connectors because they are known to be a bit of a weak spot with Ducatis. And oh yeah, I'm going to get some rear sets. So this was some of the evidence of damage here. It looks like this is, well, I know what's happened. It's been broken off in a crash, re-welded, and sprayed. So these are coming off anyway. Keep them as spares. But there's some I wouldn't say cheap, but there's reasonably priced rear sets available for these because the design is so simple that I'll put those on and get my feet up and out of the way of the track and cornering. So tires are dated 2011, so they're ready to go. Yeah, and the next step is hoping to be able to track down some body work. Like I said in one of my other vlogs, the era of you know, $350 for upper, lower, and tail is long gone. It's more than that, and I guess it's understandable. You know, cost of everything's gone up, and of course shipping is obscene. So got some lines on that. I might be able to actually pick some up locally. So anyway, it runs. Sounds good with the Termignonis, so it'll be a fun winter project, and I'll be able to sell some of the fancy bits from the Duke that I no longer need, and it'll be my street bike, which is what it was purchased for in the first place. So it's a pretty trick street bike, but yeah, it's you know, again, the worry of throwing it up the track and damaging things always made me cautious. So yeah, I'll be posting updates as this build continues on. So like and subscribe and check back.